A person earning $200,000 a year can be more broke than someone earning $35,000. That sounds impossible, but by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why it happens, why it's probably affecting you right now, and what you can do to escape the invisible trap that keeps 99% of people financially stuck for their entire lives. Here's something that will permanently change how you think about money. Being broke is not a math problem, it is a psychology problem. Most people believe that if they just earned a little more, got that raise, landed that promotion, started that side hustle, their money problems would disappear. But the research tells a completely different story. A study published in the National Bureau of Economic Research found that nearly 1 in 4 households earning over $150,000 per year report living paycheck to paycheck. Let that sink in. These are people earning 3 times the national average, and they still can't get ahead. The reason isn't income, it's a set of psychological patterns running in the background of your mind, patterns you probably inherited, patterns nobody taught you to recognize, and patterns that silently drain your wealth no matter how much you earn. Today, we're going to expose 5 of these hidden psychological traps, and more importantly, I'm going to show you exactly how to break free from each one. If you've ever felt like money just slips through your fingers no matter what you do, this video was made for you. The first psychological trap is the most dangerous because it disguises itself as success. It's called lifestyle creep, and it is the silent assassin of wealth. Here's how it works. You get a raise, you were making $50,000, now you're making $65,000. That's an extra $15,000 per year. You should be saving more, investing more, building a financial cushion, but instead, something happens almost automatically. You upgrade your apartment, you lease a nicer car, you start eating out 4 times a week instead of 1, you subscribe to services you didn't need before. Within 3 to 6 months, your expenses have risen to match or even exceed your new income. You're earning more, but you feel exactly the same financially, sometimes worse. This isn't a willpower failure. It's a deeply wired psychological mechanism called hedonic adaptation. Your brain is designed to normalize pleasure. That new car that thrilled you for 2 weeks, it's now just your car. That bigger apartment, it's just where you live. The excitement fades, but the monthly payments remain. Researchers at Princeton University found that emotional well-being plateaus at around $75,000 to $90,000 in annual income. Beyond that threshold, more money doesn't make you proportionally happier, it just raises your baseline of normal. The fix is deceptively simple, but psychologically difficult. Every time your income increases, automate the difference. If you get a $500 per month raise, set up an automatic transfer of $400 into a savings or investment account before you ever see it in your spending account. You cannot creep into a lifestyle you never experience. Pay your future self first, not your present ego. But lifestyle creep is just the surface. The next trap operates much deeper, in a place most people can't even see. The second trap is one that most people don't even know they're inside. It's called the scarcity mindset, and it literally changes how your brain processes decisions. In 2013, researchers Senthil Mullainathan at Harvard and Eldar Shafir at Princeton published a groundbreaking study on this phenomenon. They discovered that when people feel financially scarce, when they're genuinely worried about money, it creates what they called a cognitive tax. Their IQ effectively dropped by 13 to 14 points. That's the cognitive equivalent of losing an entire night of sleep. Think about what that means. When you're stressed about money, you make worse decisions about money. You take the payday loan because you can't think long-term. You skip the investment because fear overrides logic. You impulse buy something cheap that breaks in a month instead of saving for the quality item that lasts 5 years. Scarcity doesn't just limit your wallet, it limits your mind. It tunnels your focus onto immediate survival and makes it nearly impossible to plan, strategize, or think about the future.
This is why poverty is so devastatingly hard to escape, not because people in poverty are unintelligent, but because poverty itself degrades cognitive function. The stress is the cage. The escape from scarcity thinking starts with one counterintuitive move: create the experience of abundance before you have the reality of it. This doesn't mean spending recklessly. It means building even a tiny emergency fund, even $500, because research shows that having any financial buffer dramatically reduces scarcity-driven decision-making. It means shifting your inner narrative from "I can't afford anything" to "I am choosing where my money goes." That single shift from helplessness to agency is the crack in the wall that lets light in. But what if the wall itself is something you built? What if staying broke is something you're doing to yourself without realizing it? That's the third trap, and it's the one nobody wants to hear. This next trap is the one nobody wants to hear because it cuts deep. Many people stay broke because being broke has become part of their identity. This isn't about blame, it's about psychology. Your brain creates identity stories, narratives about who you are, and then fights ferociously to keep those stories consistent. Psychologists call this identity-consistent behavior. If your internal story says, "I'm bad with money," or "rich people are greedy," or "people like me don't build wealth," then your brain will unconsciously sabotage every single attempt that contradicts that story. You'll get a windfall and blow it in a week. You'll start a budget and abandon it within days. You'll find elaborate reasons why investing is too risky or why saving is pointless in this economy. Not because these things are true, but because your identity demands consistency. James Clear explains this powerfully in Atomic Habits. He writes that the most effective form of change is not changing what you do, it's changing who you believe you are. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. Here's the deep truth most people never confront. You don't get what you want in life, you get what you believe you deserve. And if deep down you believe you're destined to struggle financially, you will unconsciously create that reality over and over and over again. Breaking this trap requires what psychologists call identity shifting, and it starts absurdly small. Instead of saying, "I need to save more money," say, "I am someone who builds wealth." Instead of "I can't afford that," say, "That's not in my current plan." The language seems trivial, but it rewires how your subconscious processes every financial decision you make. Over weeks and months, these micro-shifts accumulate into a fundamentally different relationship with money. Write this down somewhere you'll see it daily. I am becoming the kind of person who handles money wisely. Your brain will resist it at first. That resistance, that's the old identity fighting for survival. Keep going anyway.
Before we get to the next trap, I want to ask you something. Which of these patterns do you recognize in yourself? Drop a comment below. Was it lifestyle creep, scarcity thinking, or the identity trap? Be honest, there's no judgment here, only growth. And if this is hitting different, if you're starting to see your financial patterns more clearly for the first time, hit that subscribe button. We break down the psychology behind success and failure every single week on this channel. One video could change the way you think forever.
The fourth trap is the one your phone injects into your brain every single day. It's called social comparison spending, and social media has turned it into an epidemic. In 1954, psychologist Leon Festinger proposed social comparison theory, the idea that humans instinctively evaluate themselves by comparing to others. That impulse was already powerful enough to shape behavior in a world of neighbors and colleagues, but Festinger could never have imagined Instagram. He could never have imagined a world where you're exposed to hundreds of curated highlight reels every single day. People displaying vacations, luxury cars, designer outfits, and lifestyles specifically engineered to make your own life feel inadequate. Here's what the data shows. A 2018 study published in the Journal of Consumer Research found that increased social media usage directly correlated with increased consumer debt. People weren't spending based on what they needed or even genuinely wanted. They were spending to close the gap between their real life and the filtered lives they saw on their screens. And here's the cruel irony that should make you pause. Many of the people showcasing luxury lifestyles online are themselves drowning in debt. The designer bag was financed, the sports car is leased, the tropical vacation was charged to a credit card at 22% interest. You are going broke trying to look like someone who is also going broke trying to look rich. The antidote is what financial psychologists call value-anchored spending. Before any purchase over $50, ask yourself one honest question. Am I buying this because I want it or because I want to be seen with it? If the answer is the second one, don't buy it. Redirect that money into something that actually builds your future. Unfollow accounts that trigger spending impulses. Curate your feed with fierce intention. Replace consumption content with creation content. The wealthiest people you will ever meet rarely look wealthy because they understand that real wealth is invisible. It lives in investments, in assets, in freedom, not in things other people can see. And that brings us to the final trap, the one that ties everything together, the one that was designed to keep you in the dark. The fifth and final trap is perhaps the most systemic and the most fixable. Most people stay broke because they were never taught how money actually works. Think about your own education. You spent years learning algebra, memorizing historical dates, and studying the mitochondria. But how many actual classroom hours were dedicated to compound interest, to understanding how debt works, to building a budget that you can sustain, to knowing the difference between an asset and a liability? For most people, the answer is zero. A global financial literacy survey conducted by Standard & Poor's found that only 33% of adults worldwide are financially literate. 2/3 of the planet's adult population does not understand the basic concepts that determine their financial destiny. And this is not an accident. The system is not designed to teach you about money, because financially literate people are significantly harder to exploit. They don't take predatory loans. They don't carry high-interest credit card balances. They don't impulse buy products they don't need. A population that truly understands money is a population that is much, much harder to profit from. But here's the empowering truth that should fire you up. Financial literacy is not complicated. The core principles that separate the financially free from the financially trapped can genuinely be learned in a single weekend. Spend less than you earn, eliminate high-interest debt with aggressive focus, build an emergency fund covering 3 to 6 months of expenses, invest consistently in diversified, low-cost index funds, and understand compound interest, the force that Einstein reportedly called the eighth wonder of the world. You don't need a finance degree. You need a few good books, a few hours of honest self-assessment, and the decision, the real, irreversible decision that you refuse to be financially illiterate for one more day. Start with just one book this month, The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. Any one of these can shatter decades of inherited financial programming. So here's the truth that 99% of people will never accept. The reason most people stay broke has almost nothing to do with how much money they earn. It's the invisible psychological patterns, the creep, the scarcity, the identity, the comparison, and the ignorance that keep the cycle spinning generation after generation. But now you see them. And that changes everything. You don't have to overhaul your entire life overnight. Start with one trap, just one. Identify it, name it, and take one small action against it this week. That's how the cycle breaks, not in a single dramatic moment, but in quiet, consistent daily choices that compound over time, just like interest. Your mind is the most valuable financial asset you will ever own. Start investing in it. If this video opened your eyes, share it with one person who needs to hear it. And watch this next video, where we reveal the daily habits that quietly separate the wealthy from everyone else. I'll see you there.